Welcome back to
Welcome,
the
everyone.
Love Change podcast. Today we have a topic that Kay loves a lot. It's called Me, My Perfectionism, and I, or Me, Myself, and My Perfectionism. Who's trying to be perfect here? I don't know. Maybe you know people who are perfectionists, and maybe you are one of those people who is a perfectionist, and you know the benefits of it, and you definitely know
Downside.
the downside of perfectionism. We're going to be sharing today how much perfectionists we are, how we deal with it, what it does to us, and maybe you can learn a thing or two about what is healthy level of improvements and what is almost paralyzing self judgment.
Yeah, or as I call it, almost destructive.
Hmm.
I think that's also important, right?
Drop the intro, K.
Love Change podcast. We do this because we love change, as the name is saying it. We stream almost every week. We skipped the beat last week, Tuesday, because
Holidays.
holidays. We had some holidays. Other than that, what we do is really authentic and real. We really don't try to make it look perfect and beautiful, but we rather share the non-perfect moments and the learning curves along the way. That's what we stand for. You can find us everywhere you would usually listen to your podcast. And if you prefer with video, it's either YouTube or Instagram. And subscribe, like, share with others because we do that because we want to reach more people with the message we are sharing here. So let's kick it off. You
You're like
ready?
clapping today a lot.
I'm
Huh?
clapping today. I'm in the clap camp today.
Clap camp.
Yeah.
So how on the scale of 1 to 10, 1 0 perfectionism, 10 the ultimate perfectionist, where would you score yourself?
I would put myself, I guess somewhere around an 8.
Mm.
Mm.
And what's the difference between an 8 and a 7?
Yeah, I was thinking about the 7, but I was like, no, I think I'm still closer to the 8.
And what makes you not being a 9?
I think I was a 9.8 in the past.
A 9.8 on the
Yeah, so I'm
perfectionism
like 8
scale.
is pretty healthy for where I am. That's what I would call
Ah, you
it.
would be happy if you were an 8 right
Yeah,
now.
I'm like 8 is pretty cool. 8 is good. I would love to be a 7 at some point. That's how I would range it. That's why I'm at. How
Wow.
about you? How do you feel? How do you feel my judgment is accurate, and how do you feel about yourself?
Ah, I think you definitely deserve a high number there.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Okay.
gave yourself an 8, which is pretty fair. I think yeah, I think you're able to let loose certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're like in a 9 or a 10 in the perfectionist camp, then everything has a certain way,
Yes. Right.
or everything goes to hell. And you
Yeah.
still have your high level of perfectionism in certain aspects, like the laundry or
That's like the
the perfect
best
laundry.
example.
The perfect laundry. First you put the clothes, then you dry it, then you run an empty run, then like you take good care of your stuff. That's the level of perfectionism.
Okay.
It's true.
Okay. That's a
But
great
enough
example.
about you. I myself would rate myself pretty low on the perfectionism scale.
I agree. Where
Um,
you at?
yeah, I think I'm around 2 or 3.
Oh wow, I would give you a 4.
Oh, still some, still
Yeah.
some.
So
Yeah, I
some.
think my aim is to be around the 4 and a 5.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's a
I,
lot of learning opportunity both ways then.
definitely. I think was I never was a perfectionist.
Hmm.
I do like I enjoy learning and I enjoy growing, and I don't care per se about details as much as some perfectionists do. And also I don't see myself struggle with the it's not perfect so I can't share it yet
Hmm.
thing that I see a lot of perfectionists deal with.
Yeah, that's something I will look
For
at.
me, flow is important. If I'm writing something or if I'm telling something, I just need to be able to captivate attention and keep it there and entertain it and like tell a story.
Mhm.
I don't believe there is something there as a perfect story. The same story you can tell and people fall asleep. The same
Mhm.
story you can
Yeah,
tell and
that's
people
beautiful.
are like still thinking about it the next day. So
Mhm.
for me, that has to do with being in sync and in
Mhm.
touch with
Flow
everything
is a
around
good
you.
word for
Yeah, but
that.
also in touch with everything around it. I feel like perfectionism is so much inside your head,
Mhm.
and a lot of times like the things that I was nitpicking or pixel fucking, people don't even pay attention
Mhm.
to. You know, that thing that you spent 3 hours on because you thought it wasn't outlined correctly,
Mhm.
people
Yeah.
slid by it in like 30 seconds.
It's also in some sense, if you like super focus on perfectionism,
Mm.
you don't allow like the moment to catch you.
Mm.
If you, I don't know, if you're on stage and you're talking about something and you see the audience shifting in a certain direction, if you're sticking to your perfect
Mm.
speech, you're just gonna ignore that and you'll be like, I'm gonna stick to my perfect speech. But if you're
Mm.
in the flow and in the moment, you might pick up that energy or something that happens funny in the audience, you might pick it up.
Where did you get your perfectionism?
Where did I get my perfectionism?
Yeah.
Poor, that's a good question. I think I kind of like
The
really.
9.8 is a pretty big one to get.
It is a pretty big one to get.
Oof, makes me tired thinking about it.
I think I always had it, to be honest. If I think about it, like, also, where do you draw the line between perfectionism and OCD? You know, so I think I had a
I
certain
think
high level of OCD from day one.
I think that's true.
So that kind of like
You had
triggers,
it.
yeah, yeah, that also triggers
You got raised with
perfectionism.
OCD, probably.
Yeah, I think
That's something
so.
you learn.
And then perfectionism, like, I like simplicity, first of all, and things in order. So that also triggers a certain perfectionism because then you're like, I want to have my things neat and in place, etc., etc. So I would say it's like a cocktail of OCD, perfectionism.
Now, how do you make the separation between OCD and perfectionism?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's really difficult to draw a line between those two.
Okay.
It's
So
like
to
you
be
kind of
scoring
obsessed.
above a 5 in perfectionism, you need to have some OCD.
I think so. You kind of have to have an
All you
obsession.
perfectionists out there, you know right now, Kay is calling you
OCD.
obsessive compulsive disorder. All of y'all have
Sorry,
disorders.
people. Please throw your complaints at me.
It's
No,
okay.
I think you need a certain level of like.
It's a way of bonding with people. You have this disorder? Me too. I'm so
Me too.
OCD right now.
I think it has a certain level of obsession. I'm not making it better, I know, but to like,
I think it's honest. I think it's true.
like
I think
if you
like
push super
I like
hard.
this interview of I think Snoop Dogg. He
Mm-hmm.
was talking about producing music with Dr. Dre
Mm-hmm.
and Pharrell from NARD.
Mm-hmm.
And Snoop, blazing his fat joint as always, was like, yeah, with Dre, he would lock you up in the studio
Mm-hmm.
until every tune was timed perfect, like mixed perfect, mastered perfect. Everything needed to be perfect.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you can focus on each element
Yeah.
and be like, is this element perfect? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And he said with NARD, if it just feels right, it's
Yep.
done. Okay, maybe it's not perfect, but it's done.
If you take it apart, probably the elements are not perfect, but it
No, no,
the
even like it's done, it's not perfect. And Dr. Dre, it's not done until it's perfect.
mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so it's two people drawing the it's finished line somewhere completely
Mm-hmm.
else. So if a tune is making you happy, if a tune is making you dance, you're like, hey, this could be a hit. And ARD is like, yeah, mix it, master it, we're finished. It's good. Well done.
Move on.
And Dre is like, no,
No
this
way.
needs to be like the like perfect track. And I think music is a weird comparison, but in some ways the elements to it, if you think of what you're doing in your daily life, it's zooming in on the imperfections.
Yeah.
What makes a perfectionist go crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you would be blind to the imperfections, then you would be happy.
Absolutely. very enjoyable life.
Hmm.
Like for example, now I'm looking at my camera. I'm like, my camera is dirty. It's super cloudy. Yours is cleaner today. Like,
It's a once in a lifetime occurrence that my camera is cleaner than Kay's. Usually, my phone comes out of a jar of filth and fat and oily
and
fingers.
greasy fingers, and I don't know
Yeah,
what.
you always clean your phone, you clean your screen. Yeah, all the imperfections are available to you. You see them at all
Hmm.
times. So if you're
Every day.
like, I remember when you moved in the desk, if it would be a little bit cluttered, it would be a big issue.
It's just like it like makes me crazy in my mind.
Yeah,
I
but
really, but
it's
I also have like this systematic mind. I think it's also a different brain wiring of like if I have a clean desk, like I'm really clear in my head.
I
People with
completely
like
agree.
crazily
It's
packed desks, I'm like, how can you work here? Like that would already
because
stress me
they are
so
in
much.
their tunnel. They are not busy.
Probably,
They are not busy with the desk. They're busy
yeah,
with their
maybe,
work. Their
yeah,
desk is just a platform on which all their thoughts are stacked upon, and what they're working on is
yeah,
there.
probably,
They don't need to get peace or clarity from
yeah.
looking at their desk. They have it
But
internally.
that's also a presentation, a
Zen.
representation of how much I am exposed to daily in dealing with non-perfectionism, and I take it every day.
Yeah, you do.
Being with you,
Yeah, you do.
living with you.
I do not live a perfect life.
No, not at all.
Nothing about my life is perfect, and I love it. I have. I think the biggest example I can make of me not being a perfectionist is the car. Like, like the car is a fucking amazing car. It's a Model X. It looks sexy as hell. It got rammed while it was parked. Got
Got raped,
damaged.
man.
Really broke my heart. Went, did the repairs, dropped 7 grand. Had it fixed, was nice and shiny again. Then it got scratched again. I just left it, and it got scratched again. And like the left backlight is scratched. It's like
Broken.
broken. It looks upsetting. Everybody who sees it is like, "Oh, that's a shame." And I believe that's a level of perfectionism, in some sense, to be like, it's bad if there's a scratch on it, you know?
Yeah,
Which
so
I
I
get,
don't
which I
want to look
get
at
on
it.
a really nice car. It's upsetting to have a scratch on it. But for me to give myself that low score in perfectionism is because also that I'm like, yo, it's just stuff.
Mm.
Like, I find maybe that's what OCD is that people are sweating the small stuff. You know, that's what I call OCD. If you're always able to sweat the small stuff,
Yeah,
why is this plate dirty? And then it upsets you. You know, why aren't the forks,
lined up.
yeah, lined up? Or why is your desktop such a mess? I get
Mm.
it. A messy desktop is confusing, but how often are you like taking
Yeah,
a
doesn't
walk on your
make my life
desktop?
worse. No.
No, but also, like you say, it drives you crazy.
Yeah.
What about it drives you crazy?
Yeah, you know, like I would have a flex desk, for example, in the past. So like you always arrive at the same type of desk where like everything is clean because you just have your folder. So that's a different thing. But sometimes if people like didn't have that, then you come to people's desk and there's like literally the space where your keyboard is free and everything around is just piles of like paper stuff, whatever. And it's just like you've never used it. You don't even know what it is.
I agree with
Just
that, but
like
that's there is a level
make
that
some
is also
space.
just being messy. I also sometimes have a messy desk.
Yeah, okay, it's also a level of
Like
messiness in
there
yeah.
is messiness,
Yeah.
and there is this is somewhere I'm working.
Yeah.
You know, like the cup should be here. No, it's better if it's here. When I'm working like this, I find like perfectionism, or I cannot start until this is that.
Yeah.
You know, so much
Yeah. The
preconditions.
preconditions are something that are really like slowing you down and really
I
like
think that
blocking
those are
you.
also the ones that are most related to being obsessive about some
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
I cannot. I think another one is like cannot start my day without a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Just a phrase like that.
It's just something you're telling yourself, which is not true.
Yeah, but it stresses people. I know plenty of
Oh my
people
gosh, yeah.
who like cannot function.
Yeah.
It annoys them. I have sometimes that some things annoy me, and
Very seldomly.
then when I catch myself in those moments, then I'm usually thinking like, am I just Maybe I'm just hungry, or maybe I'm just angry. Yeah, why is this the bike wheels in the garden? Your
Yeah,
bike wheels.
yeah.
I pass by them 4 out of 5 times. I don't even notice them, and 1 out of 5 times I'm like, God, these fucking wheels. And those times I'm usually like, fuck difference does it make? I'm not sitting in this garden 23 hours per
On
day
those, on that spot where the wheels
looking
are.
at they're not on my neck, like.
No,
But that's
usually
the
not.
thing, like if you're a perfectionism, if something is not what you consider perfect, it sits on your neck.
Yeah, absolutely. It like it nudges you all the time.
Hmm.
But it also nudges me like, I mean, for example, the kitchen is kind of like, I really like systems. You might call it OCD, you might call it whatever,
Hmm.
but I really like things in place. So
Hmm.
like you can blindfold me and I would find those things. I really like that. That like keeps a certain free space in my brain to not be like, where is this one spoon that I need to cook a meal? Where is this pen? Like that kind of stuff. So I really like those things in place. It gives me a certain peace of mind when those
Hey,
things
when
are
you
in
have,
place.
like, I think the spoon and the pan are a bad example, but when you have 5 types of flour, you have a flour section. I get that. It's
Yeah,
normal. I
yeah,
think that those are simple things.
yeah,
I also have systems. Everybody has systems. I
yeah.
think nobody, even the one kitchen that you're like, well, a bomb exploded here, has a system. That person knows
Maybe.
what they're looking for, where they get it, and they don't care about if the surface is clean or tidy or neat, or if the. I think another one, like, can you leave the dishes after dinner?
No.
Yeah, can you leave your bag unpacked after holiday?
No.
Yeah.
Unless we come back really late. Your
And
bag
and the
sticking
question,
around
why
for
not?
what, 2.5 days?
Yeah, that's super fast. I usually open it up next week or something, reminiscing on the holiday. You don't
Yeah.
get it. I have an emotional connection to that unpacking.
Yeah.
But
I don't
what
know.
about those things makes you super uncomfortable and you say no?
It's just like it it is annoying. Like I don't need it anymore. I want to have like a clean situation. Like the bag after vacation is like it doesn't serve any purpose anymore. So I want it to be gone.
It's high on the to-do list.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just things that like in that moment come on top of the to-do list to be like get rid of it.
Hmm.
Because yeah, either it's laundry or it goes back to the closet and then the bag can be
Well, how
cleaned
in
up
what
as
way
well.
has perfectionism hurt you most in your life?
I think many times like if I think back about yeah, mostly managing collections in whatever sense, and working together with so many people.
Hmm.
If you start with a high level of perfectionism yourself, it's really hard because then all the other opinions are going to come after it. So if you spend so much time to make something perfect
Hmm.
and then you get 15 other opinions and you got to change things, it kind of is really standing in your way. It doesn't
Hmm.
help. Like what I learned among all those years is to just like spit out the first draft and be like, this is as good as it can get. Opinions, please.
Hmm.
No one,
So it's
someone liking
difficult
it,
collaborating.
it makes it a bit more difficult. Yeah,
Hmm. It's true. It's true.
tiny bit more. And that's kind of annoying because only like also you got to learn that only because you think it's perfect doesn't mean it's perfect for anyone.
No, that's the
Like if you
biggest thing
have
about perfectionism. Is like it's in your head,
yeah, if you have
and then
like 10
somebody else is
markets
like,
that you work with and you think the sweater is absolutely perfect, uber perfect, and then the markets are like, no, no one is buying that at the moment. And by the way, my biggest account told me that they need this and that. And you're like, duh.
and you
So,
spent a long ass time making that
exactly.
thing perfect.
Exactly. So I think that's also a thing that I learned also for myself now that, yeah, sometimes I don't know if I record my videos about my product, yeah, I could make it more perfect. I could like record it again and again and get rid of those
No.
but is someone bothered? Please raise your hand. Other than that, I just need to move on. Like it's as good as it can get. I think this
Do you think
level.
that plays a part in perfectionism? That if somebody's bothered by it not being perfect, whatever it is, not just the video.
No, but I think yeah, I don't care about it anymore.
Oh,
from in
but
my
before,
opinion.
before when you were so high on the perfectionism scale?
Well, my perfectionism scale was already so high, so I would not
No, no,
present.
but did it matter if like did what people think play a part in your perfectionism
Yeah, I wanted to like show up with the best version and
and
get
get
that feedback.
like this is amazing?
Zero changes, whatever,
Uh,
little changes,
mm,
but
that's
it's
not
just,
reality.
yeah, the whole thing, like this whole compromise idea of a compromise when you design a collection, like it might sound like something bad, but actually finding a compromise with so many different stakeholders is the most amazing thing. So
Mm,
then why would you spend so much brain
mm,
cells up front to make something that you think is perfect? Like you gotta stick to certain things. You gotta be like, okay, this is the message of the collection, this needs to stay there, like don't touch that, don't touch that, blah 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 blah, and this is what we need. Other than that, yeah, take it apart, put it together.
mm,
It's nice, like it's still the same playground in some sense.
mm.
So I think that's something
And
that
in
I
your personal life?
evolved a lot. um I think it would also just like honestly even like hold me back from enjoying life. Like
In what
sometimes, I don't
sense?
know, in my best times of eating disorder and like super,
That was also a version of
it
perfectionism.
is
Like the perfect
absolutely,
body is
absolutely,
the skinny body.
yeah. Also working out a lot, I sometimes would not go out with people because I was like, no, I haven't done my workout and I feel chop, so I'm not gonna go out because then we're gonna drink and have food, so that's not where I'm at. Like, yeah,
I prefer to go to bed hungry.
yeah,
Fucked up.
yeah. So that's, I think that's the biggest learnings. And
Wow.
yeah, I think that's pretty crazy to also admit it to
Mm,
yourself, to realize that you yourself have been standing so much in your own way.
mm.
Yeah, it's no one telling you, hey, yeah, you should skip dinner tonight, right? Like, seriously.
No, or just
Yeah,
skip on social activities with your
exactly. Like
friends.
people ask you, they call you up and they're like, hey, let's go out for drinks. You're like, no, I don't feel so great. And actually you're like, yeah, I feel chub, I haven't done my workout.
Mm.
So that's pretty crazy. Yeah, I think that
Did
that's
you talk about it as much back then?
no, not at all. I think you can only talk about it when you're really ready to talk about it, you know?
Or what makes you ready to talk about
Um,
perfectionism?
processing it.
Mm.
If you process it for yourself, understood it for yourself,
Mm.
then I think you're ready to talk about it. Other than that, no. You also would never
Mm.
admit how much time you spend on doing stuff, you know? You would just show the end result and you'd be like, yeah, ah. If someone would give you credit, be like, wow, that looks really amazing. You'd be like, ah, that
So,
was easy.
or you would like
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah, yeah.
show.
No, absolutely. So not even like taking
Yeah,
the credit for that. I don't know. That's really, yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, but coming from the other side, how is life with so low on a perfectionism scale?
Amazing.
See, that's what I'm looking at every
Nah, I
day.
think I think if I look back at the moments that I wish I had a bit more perfectionism,
Mm-hmm.
mostly has to do with school assignments, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I would do the bare minimum to get a good grade. I was not invested in my, I would say there is a level of pride. I think it ran out of battery.
Ah,
Um, there's a level of pride involved in
yep.
perfectionism, that it's your name, your work, your whatever, and that needs to do to certain standard.
Yeah.
I didn't have that, so if
I
I look,
cannot have my name on it if it's a grade.
I was just like, I'm going to get this grade, I'm going to get this diploma. Nobody's gonna look at it in 5 years, and that's just the truth. But
Yeah.
that is part of the truth. If
Such a
I look back,
pragmatic approach. Love
if
it.
I look at my fellow students who really immersed themselves in the design, because it was a design study, so you could really dive deep into the designer mindset,
Yeah.
which I did barely minimally, and I was more busy as an entrepreneur and working.
Mm-hmm.
But in some sense, I lived a perfect life to my standards. So I was
Mm-hmm.
always hustling, doing things on the side, getting my grades, or whatever phase of my life. My definition of perfect was a very dynamic life.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot imagine spending so much time on one thing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, how much do you need to get it going? And what's the worst case scenario if it flops? Can we live with these two scenarios? Okay,
Let's
check
go.
out, let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
But it didn't mean I was doing less, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So if I look at writing my book, I do have a level of perfectionism
Mm-hmm.
present because I believe for the first time that this is something I take pride in,
Mm-hmm.
and I
But it's
don't.
also so personal.
It's not per se about taking it personal. I
No, no,
just
it's personal about you.
the book is
The
personal,
story
no,
you're
but I
telling.
want like besides telling my story,
Yeah.
I want someone good tell my story. I want it to be told in a good way,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So you could tell
Yeah.
my story in 5 minutes or 500 words,
Mm-hmm.
or write a 300
Page
page
book.
book about it.
Yeah.
But is it gonna leave that impact? Is it gonna reach people? So the goal of the writing for me personally, it was like processing everything and just reflecting and learning,
Mm-hmm.
telling my story. But another goal of it is really reaching people and impacting people.
Mm-hmm.
And that part of it requires a master storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I label it as a master storyteller, not a perfect storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think there is no such thing as perfect.
Yeah.
There are people that are very good at certain things for a certain period in time and then they lose their edge. You know, this concept of perfect is such a bullshit concept,
Mm.
you know?
I love that. Yeah.
Every time you take a breath, you live, it's perfect, right?
Yeah.
But we're not labeling those things as perfect, it's just taken for granted.
Yeah.
And then perfectionism, I think, is really a big construct of the mind and our upbringing and
Mm.
like
Also, what we see, what we see in social
I think
media.
it's also like the OCD part of it is like this grasp for control.
Yeah.
You know,
Also,
this. You cannot
I'm on top
control.
of my things.
Yeah, I cannot. I don't feel on top of things, so I'm gonna exert extra control over these
Mm.
bullshit things like
Yeah.
scrub this 3 times, wash that 5 times. I'm like, yeah, it's not my cup of tea. Plenty of people suffer from it.
Yeah.
Plenty of people excel with it in their career. If you're like a user interface designer or whatever thing, it needs to be perfect. Like you pick up your phone, you know how it works, you know how it goes, because a bunch of people broke their heads over it
Mm-hmm.
to make it perfect, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And in that sense, I do believe it is an optimization thing that you can do work wise, but the perfect girlfriend, the perfect boyfriend, the perfect relationship, the perfect life, the perfect house. Nah, nah. It's
It's
so it's
also.
so it's so. I feel like it's just as much nonsense as Christmas. You know, it's a story that people made
Yeah.
up.
And it's also, if you look at it, like, we all are so different. And then, like, who is the judge for the perfection of it?
You are, and
Yeah,
it's your
you are, but
internal
that's it.
critic.
Like,
It's your
someone else
internal.
might not like it.
Yeah.
So the perfection is only serving you, yourself, only, no one
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Unless, I don't know, you have friends that have the same houses and they all need to live up to a standard or something. But other than that, like, what is perfect for you might be completely imperfect for someone else.
No.
What you think is beautiful might be super ugly for
I
someone
think
else.
also this is why these movements of tiny houses and digital nomads and people just uh, pushing off against the perfect life rhythm.
Mm,
You're 20, you go to uni. You're
yeah,
30, you get a fat career. You're 40, you got a fat house. And a bunch of people feel the pressure of that perfectionism in life.
yeah.
So they push off against it and feel like they need to be shouting it off the rooftops how much fun they're having in their not normal lives, which is
Yeah.
so obvious how much people are struggling with these things.
Mm,
And yeah, in that sense, I think it's good to realize that it's a pressure thing. Like it's a comparison thing.
yeah.
Perfectionism only exists in
Yep.
comparison to other things.
Yep. Yeah, you like, I'm this age. If I look at people that I have been going to school with, they have this, that, and that.
Mm.
I don't have any of those. Okay, now I feel miserable. I need to
Yeah.
reach that, but that's just like comparing
Just
within your certain range.
looking for a little bit of more tragedy or feeling like better about yourself
Yeah,
because how you do against others.
like I don't know, I have a couple birthdays behind me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm turning 40.
Oh!
Duh! What have I achieved? Like, I threw away, composted a huge career,
Mm.
and now I'm running my own business, and it's in the very beginning. It still needs a lot of time to like really
Mm.
make me earn the money that I'm spending every month. And I'm like, yeah, I could beat myself up about it. Be like, wow, great, you threw away the huge career that everyone was like envying you for, and now you do this. Is it really the right thing to do? So who am I comparing it with? But yeah, and then you gotta find those points where you like, actually, I'm happy with it. I'm
So that
good where
part
I'm
of
at.
perfectionism also plays into the meta aspects
I
of your
think
life.
so. I really think so. Especially when you hit those cornerstones, like
The ages and stuff.
turning
I
30,
think
turning
in that sense,
40.
I do have perfectionism. In the meta stuff, I have a lot of it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
Um, that's why I always was on the high pace. Like I wanted to
Mm,
retire before 30 because then you can become an investor by 40 and you can like from an entrepreneur perspective,
yeah.
you laugh at employees because you're like, hey, you guys are like promised security and like a safety net, while when push comes to shove, first in, first
Bye bye.
out, last in, first out,
Yeah.
whatever, you're out. You are
Yeah.
not taken care of. Believing in a thing like a pension, I don't believe in it. It's already like underwater, and when we reach the age of pension, I'm like, nah, it's not gonna work, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. Decided that as an early age.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, to live a perfect life as an entrepreneur, you need to have passive income, you need to create all those things so you can become somebody who earns money with his money.
Yep. Yep.
And that took me to a different path than my people my age, people I talk to, because they are busy with making ends meet, finishing the month. In that sense, financially being independent, I had a high level of independence and perfectionism, because I would be like, yeah, I need to get to that point
Yep.
that I can do this and that. And when
Yeah.
I couldn't, I also felt bad about it,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. I get that.
And otherwise, I don't have it with age and relationships, I don't have it with age and family or kids. I do have it with how much of my life have I designed myself and how much of it have I taken a certain design that was presented to me. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's my perfectionism has to do a lot with more with how much of my life have I created myself instead of picked out of a catalog.
Yeah.
I do like the blank sheet
Mm-hmm.
creation of life, because then what comes out is your version of perfect.
Yeah.
So within this house, I received it in a certain way and turned it into a certain way, and that's my version of this house being perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I can look at it sometimes through a lens and be like, hey, it's really scruffy, the wallpaper's coming off over here. It's not a perfect house, but that's in comparison to all the neat minimalism, etc.
Mm-hmm.
houses. For me to consider it as a creative place where I live my life, I'm like, yeah, it's doing all the works.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, was this a perfect episode?
I think that was a very perfect episode with some really perfect insights.
If you're feeling the pressures of perfectionism, um, enjoy it, first of all, because you're one of the lucky ones.
Observe it.
Yeah, and realize to yourself that it's okay to feel that way. A lot of time, what helps is speaking it out, sharing it with other people, because then they can tell you you're crazy and you should just do it the way you think feels right.
Yeah.
And I guess your version of perfect is some different thing than somebody else's version of
It's really
perfect.
just the one version.
Yeah.
Only you own. There's no one else that is going to be like, that's also my version of
It
perfect.
requires courage and boldness to stand behind your version of perfect.
Yeah.
And that's maybe the reason why people become perfectionists, is because they are afraid of standing behind their version of something. They're concerned with what people might say, people might think,
Yeah.
and people might do as a reaction to them showing up authentic. We care about authenticity, we care about change. Actually, we love change, and we'd love to see you more often here.
Mm.
Please do like, click subscribe, share it with your friends, your family, your aunts, aunties,
Uncles,
uncles.
cousins.
Next time we speak, Kay will almost be 40.
Yeah, almost.
So bring your gifts.
No, pre-gift is not. No, in 2 weeks I'd be really 40.
Okay, two episodes from now,
Yeah.
a 40-year-old co-host will drop mad knowledge and wisdom on all of us. Take
Let me
notes.
clap for that.
Take notes. Love change
Bring
out.
your notepad. Love change out.
Out.